All right, hole 3, 225 feet, barely leans off to the left. What are you going with here? Forehand roller, obviously. Forehand roller. How is that obvious?
So catch me if I fall.
Don't worry, we didn't forget the most important question of the day. How are you doing today, Mark? Are you having a good one? What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Recently had the opportunity to play with several folks who are part of the Birdie fam, and in playing with them, I had sort of something that I do, per se, brought up to me that is sort of, we'll say, a weakness of mine or an inability to hide my thoughts. Basically, as I was playing with this crew, we played doubles for pretty much all of it. We would walk up to a shot and I would ask a simple question, something along the lines of, hey, what are you looking at here? What are you planning on throwing here? Now, in those scenarios, they would tell me what shot they were looking at, and in an effort to not like squash any ideas and really to allow people to grow as a player, especially when playing doubles, because I think that is the best opportunity to try stuff out and try to grow what you can do. Whatever they said, I would say something along the lines of, oh, great, let's see it. And apparently, when I believe in a shot and when I don't believe in a shot, my inflection changes unbeknownst to me, because it was pointed out to me that, oh, yeah, there's definitely a difference in how you agree or say something about a shot. Which brought up a video idea for today of, let's talk about high percentage shots and shot selection while you're on the course. Because I want to really open with the question, is there an objectively wrong throw to make in a situation, even if it is the highest percentage shot for you? Which range true? Going with the shot you're more comfortable with, or throwing the shot that the hole is actually asking for? Honestly, I'm not too sure whether I think one way or another on this, and especially when I play with people, it's a lot harder for me to come up with answers to that. So the week that I'm filming this, I actually have a tournament on Saturday, playing a doubles tournament over with our friends at Swanky. He might possibly be a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox. And so, not because of the fact that we have a tournament coming up this weekend, but more so I just do my normal daily practice routines. I thought, while I need to film this video, I also need to put the time in to do my practice stuff. So why not talk about this concept and flesh out some ideas while we do our practice routine for getting ready. And guys, let me tell you, based on those two putts, we are feeling really confident. Let's start first talking about the concept of what is a high value shot or a high percentage shot for you. To know this, you have to know the answers to the question, what shots am I actually good at? The most common barrier, or where we see people fall into this like two categories first off, is, are you a backhand dominant player or are you a forehand dominant player? I'm a person who would generally consider myself to be pretty mixed in terms of, I like throwing backhands and I like throwing forehands. And while my forehand honestly goes a little further than my backhand, I know that if I step up to a hole and it's asking for a backhand, 9 times out of 10, I can probably throw the backhand. And if a hole is asking for a forehand, then I'll step up and throw the forehand. But this answer isn't so easy for lots of people. We take a player like the guy who won the Heiser Club Championships over at Foundation, Addison. Addison is a really good player. I don't know what he is rated, but if I had to guess, he'd be somewhere in the like 980s, 990s. Now, Addison is a forehand dominant player. By his own admission, he is a forehand dominant player. But that doesn't mean that Addison doesn't have a pretty good backhand. However, when it comes to wooded shots or wooded opportunities, Addison by himself has admitted that he will try to make a forehand shot work when he can, especially in the woods, versus throwing the backhand, even if the hole technically is asking for a backhand. Now, why would he do this? Why would he go against what the hole is openly asking him to do? And that is because Addison is playing his high percentage shot. Now, I'm not the first person to make a video on high percentage shots. In fact, I definitely am not the first person, and I certainly won't be the last. Overthrow actually released a video talking about this because Josh was playing with Mikey's brother Timmy, and Timmy wanted to throw rollers, as we kind of mentioned in the intro to this video. The roller was certainly not the shot the hole was asking for. But spoiler alert, Timmy had way more success throwing the roller on the hole than he did actually throwing, let's say, the forehand or the backhand, or the more natural shot, or more common shot, I guess you should say, that the hole might have seen in the past. Other examples of this might be Hunter in his Break 68 series, stepping up to New London, hole 5, where he throws the backhand roller every single time, versus a forehand to try to just get to the middle of the hill, or even the flex backhand up and trying to crash into the hill a little bit more distance, bite it off there. Another personal example for me might be at Gardendale, our local course, hole 12. It's about 200 feet, very tight tunnel, and rather than throwing the backhand, I actually grab a felon and put it on a forehand roller right down the middle, and I take a par at worst pretty much every single time. Now, as I've said this, I'd love to know in the comments below, is there a hole that you traditionally take an unheard of route where most people might look at you like you're crazy, but it generally works out for you most of the time? Love to hear those comments down below, because especially checking those comments, feel free to respond to people if you find a hole that you normally struggle with and you've never thought about trying this option. Now, here's the thing. Just hearing that conversation, you would think that I'm locked into the, oh, you should just go with whatever the highest percentage shot for you is every single time. However, I'm trying to think about this from a developing your game standpoint. And if you find yourself stepping up to a hole, let's even say like the one referenced in the intro, 230 something feet, 225 feet, barely shaping off to the left. Now, for right-handed players, that means most often that's probably going to be some form of a backhand. That's with a putter, a mid-range. If you don't throw over 250 feet, it could be a distance driver, could be a fairway driver. What you're choosing to use on that hole is up to you. But if you find yourself stepping up to there and you're only throwing the forehand roller every single time, well, I think it is actually going to stunt your growth in disc golf and stunt you becoming a better player. Wow, that was bad. Like, that didn't even feel. Okay, feel the weight. There we go. Sometimes you just gotta remind yourself what you're supposed to be doing. A lot of this conversation though is pertaining to tee shots, and tee shots are usually like your best setup circumstance, right? You have flat footing, you have a designed fairway standing in front of you, and where my question marks often come into play is the scrambling or the second shot. What happens when you find yourself having to work a little bit more or throw something you weren't prepared for? That's where the decision making and choosing the higher percentage shots versus what's asked of you, I think, can get a little sketchy. Now, I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant to make this video because I didn't want people to be like, oh, I'm afraid to play with Robbie, because every time I play with Robbie, he's just thinking about a video idea, or he's like critiquing me and silently judging me while we're playing. That's quite simply not the case. But I will admit that I do try to play with players all the time that are much more in the range that I'm trying to teach, versus, let's say, just going out and playing with open players all the time, because what you guys are struggling that I'm trying to focus on and teach here on the Robbie C channel versus what an MPO player is struggling with is drastically different. As a great example, you got Bonanza Disc Golf out here with Drew Gibson for the week, trying to learn how to throw 600 feet. That's awesome and amazing and super stoked for him. But he's trying to get a tour card. I would say that most people in disc golf are trying to throw 350 feet. While it'd be cool to throw 600 feet, it's just a different problem and a different struggle than people are dealing with. So I do like playing with folks who are going to teach me what needs to be focused on and what areas of focus we need to bring here to the channel. Now, in doubles, this is where this concept became most fascinating to me. And he's been on the channel in the past, so don't think that he's gonna be upset for me pointing this out. But there was a moment that we scrambled where we had two disc opportunities. My disc was probably 80% up the fairway, and my partner's disc was all the way back, probably 20% up the fairway. Now, his disc had more of an open look to seeing the fairway again, but on this par 4, we were essentially playing it again as a par 3 from worse footing. Whereas where I was up the fairway, I saw several scramble opportunities that if they worked, we would be significantly closer for a birdie look. And if they didn't, we could easily scramble there and save the par anyways. So my brain locked into, I see that we have this tunnel and this tunnel opportunity, and I looked up in the sky, saw another hole in the ceiling there, and I thought, there's so many options up here. So I called out to my teammate and I was like, yo man, you can go ahead and pick up, just come up here, we got options. So partner comes walking up and he looks at the options available, and I was like, all right, you go first. I see this one right here, I see this one, and he pulls out, I think it was a deflector, which was his big skip opportunity. And he tells the group that we're playing with, he's like, hey, you may want to watch out and scoot back up. And I stopped him right there because the gap that he was looking at, let's say that here are the trees that I was looking at. The gap in place he was telling people to move away from was all the way over here. And that was very confusing to me because the basket was also over in that direction. So I thought, perhaps he's still trying to hit like the rightmost of these options, and he's worried that, yeah, if he shanks it, it's going to hit a tree and get a really bad deflection back at those people. But I don't like to believe in, oh man, what are we going to miss? Because if you're telling yourself, oh, don't hit that tree, don't hit that tree, well, what are you focused on? You're focused on that tree, so you're probably going to hit that tree. He steps up and throws his shot, and he actually throws it almost directly at the people that were way off to the right. It doesn't skip near as much as he wanted it to, and he tells me it's like, oh, he didn't put it on enough hyzer. But I immediately stopped him and asked, wait a minute, was that the gap you were going for? Like, did you mean to hit that one that wide? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. That was the highest percentage shot for me. And that puzzled me. I was quite confused because I proceeded to grab a forehand, throw a little standstill shot, and even hitting a tree, I still ended up closer to the basket going through the other gap, which once again brought me to the question mark of this video. Neither of us executed the shot we were going for, but going with the highest percentage shot available in his mind, it still put him pretty far away from the basket. Curious. I'm gonna be honest, guys, cinematography wise, this shot is either gonna be really cool or it's gonna be really bad because it can't focus because of the net. But I want to go ahead and add the caveat that just because I've made the decision doesn't make it the right decision making. And that is something that we need to embrace as disc golfers overall, but especially let's say that you are a player and you're playing with a partner that you may or may not feel like you have a little more disc golf skill than. Just because you're making the decision as the quote better player doesn't make it the right decision. So, do I think my partner was wrong for choosing that gap? To a degree, yes. But also, to a degree, I think I was wrong for forcing him into that gap. That was better. Good nose angle, great launch angle. I think where this concept really struggles for me is when you're playing a course that pushes you to your limits. If you're playing a, let's say, easier pitch and putt type course where the holes are more forgiving, the length of the holes is more forgiving, then choosing the highest percentage shot for you should always be what you go with, because most often your higher percentage shot is still going to make it so that you can score well on the hole. However, if you find yourself playing a course that pushes you a little more, simply going with what is higher percentage for you, while it may feel like you're saving strokes because you're out there actually throwing the shot you want to throw, sometimes that shot can be objectively wrong. Sometimes that shot can be objectively bad and not put you in a scoring scenario, or it can even put you further back so that you're giving more to the course than the course needs. This also opens the idea that I want to go ahead and start kind of approaching a little more inside of disc golf, and we've never really talked about it here on the channel before, but it's the idea of limit testing. For those who may not know, I played League of Legends, the video game, for a long time. Started playing in like 2012. And when I met a really, really good player, he told me that what I should do is I should walk into plays, especially when I'm not playing ranked or not playing games that matter, I should walk in and try something crazy almost every time. Even if I end up dying for it inside the game, I should try it, because I'm going to learn that way how far I can push myself to see what plays I can actually pull off. And granted, when I'm pushing those limits, things are not going to work out all the time. But when I go for it, I'm actually going to allow myself to see what I'm capable of. And I think the same thing is true in disc golf. This feels like I may be going against like my entire mantra of playing for par. And I don't want to say that I am saying out loud, stop playing for par. But I do think that there comes a world where we choose such high percentage shots for us that they are inherently too safe. Sometimes we have to be willing to push the limits of the game and go for the shot that's put in front of us rather than saying what's the highest percentage shot that I can bring to add into the situation. Now, if high percentage shot is over here and I know that, hey, if I pull this off, most likely I'm still going to end up with a bogey, then I might as well go for the learning opportunity to teach myself what shot may be possible so that I can actually know the next time I'm in a similar situation, or I find myself really scratching my head at what I'm supposed to do, boom, I can recall and have the confidence of that prior situation to bring to the table. I would say the most common version of this shot for me is something that I've been doing with my Halo polecat for a long time now. And even on Disc Golf Survivor over on Swanky Disc Golf's channel, it ended up possibly costing me $1,000 because I decided to play aggressive here. Choosing to play aggressive left me with a longer putt that I didn't make versus laying up. So you can see here that I'm tucked behind the corner of this house, and what I'm practicing is, and normally I'd bring my polecats out for this, but I'm practicing that Anheuser approach into the basket because I want to give it a chance to crash in, but I know that by running it and keeping it chain high, it actually is going to have the opportunity to sail past the basket. That one never had a chance. But this is a shot that I can practice, especially in the comfort and safety of here in the backyard, so that if I need to pull it out in a tournament scenario, there it is. I feel like I've got it dialed. I had it through 10 shots. 3 of them went in. That's not great odds, a 30% chance. But I would say a 30% chance of draining those is about the same chance that I have if I was throwing a traditional putt from back there. So while that's fine, I've got 2 that got stopped by the fence back there. So that's 5, and then the other 5 are all resting right here. What's the highest percentage shot for most players, especially those watching in that scenario? Highest percentage shot is probably to just lay it up and put it under the basket. But teaching myself an opportunity to learn a throw-in potential. Yes, I've got a chance of having a longer putt available, but I got to believe in myself to make those putts anyways. But I also have a chance of throwing it in. So while playing it safe may say, just lay it up, take the par, walk away, or lay it up, don't give away too many strokes, sometimes you have to limit test and you have to push yourself to that opportunity. So at the end of the day, where do we wind up on this? I think that it's important to know what your high percentage shots are, because if you aren't aware of what shots you can pull off that are going to help you in a lot of situations, then you're really going to struggle to have tools in your toolbox to scramble with and effectively shoot while you're out there on the course. Also, knowing what your high percentage shots are going to help inform your decision making while you're out there on the course, because we've said it before, if you can throw 250 feet with some accuracy and make all of your putts 20 feet and in, probably the only reason that you are not rated 900 right now is because of decision making alone on the course. Speaking of which, is it about time that we run another experiment like that on the channel? Would you guys be interested in that? High percentage shots and safe shots don't always have to go hand in hand. Sometimes limit testing and pushing yourself can be exactly what you may need to break through the current plateau that you're on. Testing what you can and can't do while you're out there on the course could be exactly what you need. But notice in all of those scenarios, I'm saying to do that when the stakes are low. When you're out there in a casual round, when you're playing doubles with friends, these are great opportunities to do some limit testing, especially when you're playing doubles and your partners are already parked. That's definitely a time to limit test. All in all, I am a firm believer that decision making is separating so many amateur players. Honestly, no matter what pool of talent you're in, decision making can have a huge influence on players' ability to score, whether it's on the Pro Tour level or all the way over in MA4. With that being said, I hope this opens up the idea and allows you to have a little bit more fun in your next practice round and allows you to sort of possibly have a little shift in how you're approaching the course. As always, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and we've got Vlogmas just around the corner. So if there are any video ideas that you guys want to see, I'll be asking about it in the next few videos so that we can have some awesome content prepared for you guys in Vlogmas overall. As always, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and you can make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.